He was a young, brilliant tech entrepreneur, successful, admired, with the perfect family. But one night, everything shattered. He was discovered in a locked hotel room, beside the lifeless body of a woman. The police arrested him on the spot, and his world collapsed. To prove his innocence, his firm brought in Korea's most elite lawyer. Yet as she dug deeper, the truth she uncovered would shock not only her, but the entire nation. Let's begin. The film opens on Min-ho, a wealthy tech CEO, stepping out of jail after being suspected of killing his mistress, Se-hee. His release comes not from innocence, but from the influence of his powerful father-in-law. As he breathes in the cool air of freedom, his phone rings. It's his company lawyer. Min-ho, the lawyer says, Jang, one of the most prestigious lawyers in the country, will take your case. Minutes later, Min-ho heads to the secluded house in the mountains, far from the city's prying eyes. There, he finally meets lawyer Jang. Calm, sharp, and intimidating, she looks him over carefully. I'll decide if I take your case, she says. But first, tell me everything. Start from the beginning. Your relationship with Se-hee. And what happened the day she died. Min-ho swallows, and as he speaks, the story pulls us into a flashback. It was the day of Se-hee's murder. Min-ho had received a mysterious phone call, a threat. A man demanded $1 billion, or he would expose Min-ho's affair to the world. Heart racing, Min-ho rushes to a remote hotel to confront the threat. But when he arrives, he realizes Se-hee is present too. Together, they wait in a locked hotel room, tense, anticipating the blackmailer's arrival. Flashing lights outside catch their attention, police cars are pulling up. Panic surges. They must escape. But before Min-ho can act, someone attacks him. Everything goes black. When he wakes, the room is silent. Then he hears knocks on the door. Desperate, he searches for Se-hee, only to find her lifeless body in the bathroom. Shock paralyzes him. He clings to her, holding on to the impossible. The police burst in. They see him cradling Se-hee's body and instantly assume the worst. Min-ho is arrested, his freedom snatched away in a single heartbeat. He insisted that the killer was someone else and not him. Back in the present, lawyer Jang leans forward, studying him with piercing eyes. You're not telling me everything, she says softly. The cleaner said, no one left the room. The balcony windows were locked from the inside. Every exit was checked. Yet the killer vanished. How? Min-ho swallows hard. I don't know. Maybe, someone set us up. Someone came in before the police arrived. Jang reaches into her bag and pulls out a flyer, a missing boy, C&J. Do you know him? She asks. The room darkens with tension. Then Jang drops another bomb. The police have a new witness. Min-ho stays silent. If you want me to help you, Jang says, her voice sharp, you must tell me the whole truth. Min-ho and Se-hee were at his company's villa, hidden deep in the mountains. The place was private, perfect for them to meet without anyone finding out. But the quiet of the villa was shattered when Min-ho's phone rang. It was his wife, calling him back to Seoul for a seminar. Min-ho was still tipsy, so he asked Se-hee to drive them back. On the way back, without warning, Min-ho spoke. I can't do this anymore, he said, his voice tight. I'm tired of lying to my wife. It's over, Se-hee. Se-hee's hands trembled on the wheel. I don't expect anything from you, so let's continue things as it is, she began, but he cut her off, insisting they end it now. Distracted by the argument, Se-hee didn't see the deer until it was too late. She swerved, but another car appeared, crashing violently into the trees. Panic exploded. Both rushed out to check the driver. He didn't move. Is he dead? Se-hee whispered, horror in her eyes. The driver was C&J. Min-ho fumbled for his phone, ready to call for help, but Se-hee grabbed his arm. No, she hissed. If anyone finds out, our affair will be exposed. This is his fault. He wasn't wearing a seatbelt. We leave now. Nobody saw. It'll look like an accident. They hurried back to their car, hearts hammering. But the engine refused to start. And then, headlights appeared, a truck was coming up the road. Se-hee's mind raced. She snatched C&J's belongings and whispered sharply, pretend it's us in an accident. Act normal. When the truck driver stopped, she kept her voice calm. It was just a minor accident and we have already handled it. And when C&J's phone began ringing, she answered it as if it were a call from the insurance company. The truck driver, thinking everything was resolved, drove away. Se-hee turned to Min-ho, her eyes cold. I'll handle this. I'll respect your wishes. Our relationship ends. What happened here, stays between us. She put C&J's body in the boot, telling Min-ho to take the car and manage it. As she waited for a tow truck, an elderly man, young Suk, appeared on the road. Need help with your car? I can check what's wrong if you open your bonnet, he asked kindly. Se-hee froze. The car wasn't hers, so she wasn't familiar with the buttons. But under his careful guidance, she managed to open the bonnet, hiding the panic in her eyes. Young-suk smiled gently at Se-hee. It just needs a simple reboot, I can do it for you. If you would like, I can tow the car to my house and fix it properly, he offered. Se-hee hesitated for a moment, then nodded. As they drove through the winding mountain roads, Young-suk spoke casually, sharing his life. I stay in this area because my wife prefers it. She's receiving treatment for cancer, and it's quieter here. He told stories of his life, laughed softly, but Se-hee's hands gripped the seat tightly. She was still shaken from the accident, from C&J, from everything. At Young-suk's house, the car was fully repaired. He refused to take any payment, even insisting she sit down with a warm cup of chrysanthemum tea. He talked about his son, smiling proudly as he described him. But Se-hee's eyes wandered, and then she froze. Her jaw dropped. She recognized the boy in the photographs. It was C&J, the boy they had killed, the boy she and Min-ho had disposed of. Before she could think, Young-suk's phone rang, his wife calling. They hadn't heard from their son, she said. Young-suk quickly dialed his son's number. At that moment, the phone in Se-hee's hand began ringing, C&J's phone. Panic surged. She shoved the phone under the sofa, heart pounding. Young-suk walked over, followed the sound, then chuckled softly. Ah, he must have forgotten his phone, he said, completely unaware of the truth. Se-hee exhaled shakily and rushed out of the house, her pulse racing. That night, Se-hee had told Min-ho to take C&J's car to a garage. Then he hurried to his wife's seminar. Se-hee herself was at the event too, working as part of the production team. Together, they had the perfect alibi, no one could suspect a thing. The next day, Min-ho instructed his lawyer to quietly dispose of the car. He claimed it had been an accident and didn't want any unnecessary trouble. For a while, everything seemed to return to normal. Min-ho buried himself in his business, hoping the nightmare was over. But fate had other plans. One day, while pitching to his clients, police officers suddenly appeared. They asked if he knew anything about a highway accident, as they found some car parts on the floor which belonged to his car. Min-ho's lawyer remained calm. The car was stolen, he said firmly. If you want to investigate further, get an official warrant. Reluctantly, the officers left. Min-ho exhaled, thinking the nightmare was finally over. A few days later, Min-ho was having dinner with his wife when the news flashed across the screen. C&J's disappearance was making headlines. A sketch of a woman, who allegedly stole the car and might be linked to the accident, was shown. The woman was none other than Se-hee, now the prime suspect. Min-ho's phone rang. It was Se-hee. Her voice was urgent. She demanded to meet him immediately. He drove to a remote bridge. Se-hee had changed her appearance completely, hiding from the police. She glared at him. This is your fault, she said. You told the police the car was stolen. Now I'm the suspect. Min-ho shook his head. I disposed of the car. There won't be any issues. Then, Se-hee handed him C&J's wallet. Make him the criminal, she said coldly. Divert the police. Make them chase someone else. Min-ho had no choice. He accessed records of phone scams and transferred all the stolen money into C&J's account, making it look like he was the mastermind. Then, he destroyed all evidence linking them to the crime. Meanwhile, Young-suk demanded that the police search for his son again. He told them the phone records showed that Se-hee had been in possession of C&J's phone before leaving it at his house. She must have had an accomplice, he argued, since she had to adjust the seat before driving away from his house that day. Convinced, the police sent a team to comb the forest. But there were no signs of C&J. Days later, thanks to the manipulations of Se-hee and Min-ho, the police shifted their investigation, concluding that C&J was a criminal who had staged his own disappearance. Young-suk was stunned. Even worse, he found his wife lying unconscious at the door, likely fainting from worry and exhaustion as she waited for their son. Helplessness gripped him, he had no idea what to do next. Meanwhile, the case was closed and Min-ho was free. With suspicion lifted, he threw himself into his work, climbing to the top. Soon, he was named Entrepreneur of the Year, earning fame, wealth, and public praise, all while the dark secret of that night remained buried. Back in the present, lawyer Jang began narrating Min-ho's version of the story that he told the police. According to him, Young-suk is the blackmailer and must have been in the room all along, hiding in a cabinet. His wife who worked at the hotel as a receptionist had called the cops once Min-ho and Se-hee arrived. Then, Young-suk supposedly knocked Min-ho unconscious and killed Se-hee, seeking revenge for his son. He had climbed to the storage room through the windows to avoid suspicion, and his wife had locked the windows from the inside while the police arrested Min-ho. Min-ho claimed he knew nothing about C&J's death. In his story, say he had been the mastermind, and now that she was dead, the true story would never be revealed. Lawyer Jang tells him that it is a perfect story except the receptionist is not Young Suk's wife. She looked him straight in the eye, telling him she knows he wasn't being honest. And that she was not interested in defending him if he did not tell her the truth. Then she began recounting the events that happened. On the day of C&J's accident, it was Min-ho driving, not Se-hee. And the whole story about him wanting to end the affair? A lie. Se-hee had wanted to break up. Min-ho's distraction caused the accident that killed C&J. Se-hee had wanted to call the police immediately, but Min-ho, fearing the destruction of his reputation, forced her to follow his plan. He was cunning, he ensured she would take all the blame, while he remained free and untouchable. The trauma shattered Se-hee's mind. Paranoid and hiding from the police, she contacted Min-ho that night, but he was cold and wanted to pin the blame on her. Left with no choice, she contacted Young Suk, confessing everything and promising to reveal where C&J's body was hidden. Then came the shocking twist, it was Min-ho who killed Se-hee when she tried to blackmail him and called the police on him. To avoid detection, he smashed his head on a mirror, feigning unconsciousness, and staged the entire story of Young Suk's presence in the hotel room. Every detail about Young Suk being there was fabricated, a lie Min-ho had carefully crafted to cover his tracks. Min-ho had manipulated everyone, and the truth had been buried under layers of lies. Back in the present, Lawyer Jang tells Min-ho, I will help you win this case, but I need the complete truth. Where is C&J's car? Min-ho knew he had no choice. He swallowed hard and confessed, C&J's body was in the trunk, and the car had been sunk into the lake. Then he revealed something far more horrifying. When I went to dispose of the car, he was still alive, Min-ho admitted coldly. I couldn't risk my reputation. I had come too far. I ended it. He described, matter-of-factly, striking C&J with a wrench before throwing the car into the lake. Lawyer Jang froze. Her face turned pale. How could you not save the man if he is still alive? She shouted, flaring with anger. Min-ho's expression hardened. Just do your job, he snapped. She composed herself and placed a map in front of him. Mark the exact spot where you submerged the car, she instructed. Min-ho took the pen and marked it. Then, she packed her belongings and said calmly, I'll get someone to dispose the evidence. She started her car, but the tires got stuck in the snow. Panic rose. At the same time, Min-ho noticed something odd. Her signature didn't match the real lawyer's. He froze. Something was off. The truth was that this woman wasn't Lawyer Jang. This was Hee-young, C&J's mother, disguised as the lawyer. She did this to extract his confession and locate her son's body. The police had been powerless, and say he had died before revealing the truth. Hee-young had taken matters into her own hands. Days earlier, she had confronted the real Lawyer Jang to share the story, hoping she would understand a mother's pain, but the lawyer refused. So Hee-young had crafted her plan, knocked out Lawyer Jang, voice recorder in place with Young Suk listening in. At the villa, Min-ho, realizing the deception, offered her back inside while he called someone to fix her car. Calmly, he probed, how do you know the chairman? Hee-young kept her composure. I met him at a trial, she said. Min-ho smiled faintly. I've heard you and the chairman come from the same hometown. That's how you know each other. Then he leaned closer. And who are you, really? With no choice, she admitted the truth. She was C&J's mother. Her only goal was to find her son's body. But Min-ho, ever cunning, had given her a false location of the car. As she tried to leave, Min-ho grabbed her, and she tossed him. In the struggle, he held her leg, she hit her hand, and both of them crashed to the ground. After what felt like an eternity, Hee-young stirred awake, only to find a weapon in her hand. It was yet another cruel trap set up by Min-ho. He had called the police, and planned to paint her as the assailant while he played the helpless victim. And when the officers arrived, he had pulled the trigger on himself, ensuring their eyes would fall on her as the guilty one. As the police arrested Hee-young, Young Suk appeared at the house. His face drained of color as he took in the chaos, unable to comprehend Min-ho's ruthlessness. Meanwhile, back at the villa, the real lawyer, Jang, leaned close to Min-ho, her voice cold and calculating. Don't worry. I'll handle everything. Min-ho, wounded and arrogant, was whisked away to the hospital. And as if fate itself sided with him, the truck driver who could have exposed him was gone, silence and complicity now shielding his crimes. But Hee-young refused to remain silent. Trembling yet resolute, she recounted the entire truth to both Lawyer Jang and the police officer. She just had to find C&J's car to prove her words. Her eyes landed on a photo, a lake at Min-ho's place, and suddenly, the puzzle pieces fell into place. She told Jang, her voice firm, don't take on his case. You will definitely lose. The police reopened the investigation, the urgency in their movements matching the racing beat of Hee-young's heart. A team arrived at the lake, cranes digging relentlessly into the snow. Hours passed, every second stretching like a lifetime, until finally, the twisted wreck of C&J's car emerged from its icy grave, and with it, the proof of Min-ho's heinous crime. Justice, long delayed, was now unavoidable. Hee-young and Young-suk stood together, their faces etched with grief as the car that had taken their son was lifted from the frozen earth. Pain still clawed at them, raw and unyielding, but amidst the sorrow, there was a bitter relief. Justice had been done.